just want to introduce to you Mike Diamond. He's the co-founder, director of curriculum development for Apex GMAT. And Mike has a very diverse background and experience in finance and politics, as well as education. And he has run successful companies from the inception stage to the growth phases. And his agile business approach has resulted in a deep understanding of overcoming challenges faced by businesses at any stage. My clients actually turn to Mike for advice in the startup world, in the family business, and new leadership training. He has over 2 decades of experience, which has helped countless clients with business growth plans, risk management, decision-making heuristics. Today, he's going to talk about short-term steps for long-term growth. Mike, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Fatma and Velislav. I also want to send some shout outs to Elena, who helped put this together as well. I've been working with members of StartUP for over a year now, and with nothing but amazing experiences. Whatever you guys are doing there, whatever you're putting in the cocktails, it's working. And I want to thank you guys for putting this this great conference together. So
thank you for the kind words. We're gonna leave the session now.
Okay, get out of here. Okay, so begin today, but how? It's a challenging question, and there are a lot of considerations when you're trying to begin a business. And one of the most important things is the planning. And yet it's not the plan that you come up with. It's not the plan, it's the planning. It's the process of going through and understanding what you're trying to achieve, what those obstacles are, what the benefits are, and ultimately, it's an exercise in thinking. And this is where I want to begin, because most of what we do begins first as a thought, begins internally, and it's not always a structured thought. So one of the highest points of leverage in anything that we do is approaching it with the right frame of mind and thinking better and having an exceptional amount of self-discipline in how you think, sensitizing yourself to logical fallacies, to biases, is absolutely vital to laying out the right plan, but more importantly, provides both a tactical and largely a strategic toolbox that you can refer to again and again. So the number one thing you can do is really cultivate your thinking process. And that doesn't mean just knowledge acquisition. It doesn't mean knowing how to solve problems. Hi, Tony. We have a visitor.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey. Hello.
Hi, Tony. I think you're in the presentation, and everyone's seeing our conversation.
What?
I think you can log out of the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm going to continue. So it's not just about reading a ton of books or taking a lot in, nor is it about just production. It's about being very mindful of your process and how you approach data, approach information, and approach not individual pieces of what it is that you're looking at, but the entire system. And many times the insights, the real creativity is in the space between as you think through what it is you're trying to achieve and how you want to do it. I could speak for hours about that, but the takeaway here is be mindful of your process, be mindful of how you're thinking about things, seek out opinions that are different from yours, but also keep your own counsel and don't be misled by anything that's either popular or that sounds appealing. And it's exceptionally easy to be led astray by novelty, by having someone say, oh, well, here's a new way of thinking about this. Here's a new way of approaching this problem, or everything has changed. This time it's different. There's a great book in the financial market about this time it's different. And guess what? It's always the same. That is, there are core principles that do not change with time. Principles about human behavior that leads into principles of economics, principles of business. So cultivating a practice of deep thought is vital. But then what do? You plan out, you've got this great idea. And one of the largest mistakes in starting a business is trying to put everything in place before making a sale, having a prototype. And this is where the planning can really get in the way. At the outset, you want to do everything yourself. And this doesn't have to be individual, it can be your team does everything itself, but you want to do everything manually. Because despite our best laid plans, we often don't realize the intricacies and subtleties in pulling off even simple actions. Anyone who's learned computer programming has learned that you just want the computer to do this thing, and yet there's so many ifs and thens that underlie this that we do automatically. And many times we don't realize those until we go through the process ourselves. And so another great point of leverage is not to spend too much time getting things set up. And I've seen people at the starting stages go so far as, I need to incorporate my business. I need to calculate every last penny of how I'm going to spend in budget. I need to buy paper clips and binders and need my workspace ready. And all these things are important, but in due time. Because otherwise what you end up doing is spending a lot of time thinking, setting up, and you haven't made a sale. And the risk there is that you're unable to get a reality check on whether or not what you think is a great idea is aligned with what the market wants, is aligned with what's feasible, if you can deliver it in the way you envision or the way customers need it, whether it's B2B or B2C, before you spend all this time building it and rolling it out. So start out by doing things yourself, do it manually, and only then automate. So my next step that I'd like to share is something called the Pareto principle, which is that roughly the 80-20 rule. 80% of success is in 20% of what you do. 80% of headaches are in the 20%. And so really you want to be very active in your decision making and where you spend your time. You want to be incredibly defensive in your time, with your time. And yet that's much more easily said than done. This is something that I struggle with on a constant basis. I like the social aspects of what I do, whether it's advising, working with clients, working with my staff. It's really, I enjoy it, and consequently, I don't always focus my time in the places that are the most efficient. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, and I'll speak more to that point later, but it's very important to constantly be asking yourself the question, what are the few things that I'm doing really well, and how can I extrapolate those into my larger system? And this speaks into probably the core principle of what one ought to be doing, at least in my opinion, which is the idea that very small incremental changes made on a regular basis, that is incremental increases, better functions, better products, they compound. So while sometimes there are these sea change moments in any business, and certainly we see them in the world. As a student of history, you see these moments where everything sort of changes very rapidly. These things do exist, and that's also another subject. But most of the time, there are very small changes on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis that compound. And if you can increase the efficacy of your business by even a fraction of a percent every week, whether your KPI are revenues or profits or things that don't lend themselves as much to measurement, processes and things like that, then what happens is that very rapidly things get out of hand in the best way possible. So growth isn't about big changes. It's about many small changes that build on one another. And this happens not just in startups, not just in business, but personal development is very much the same way. If you think back to where you were 5 years ago, and I imagine I'm talking to an audience that's largely undergraduate, you're likely a very different person. If you're not, if you're the same person at 21 that you were at 15, that indicates that maybe a little self-examination is in order. But as you get older, one of the things that's really shocking is how much you change in some aspects, and of course how much you stay the same in others. Some parts of ourselves really do get locked in very young, but the little changes that we undergo day to day, the relationships, romantic, platonic, the work exercises, our personal projects, our priorities, these things have a way of moving away from us at any given time. And the same goes for what I was speaking about at the outset, which is mindfulness of how you think and how you approach problems. All this leads into an idea of forming habits. And forming habits is something that happens slowly. And the internalization of those habits into really things that you just do and part of who you are is something to work on from any age, but especially a young age and as you're going out to the working world. Understanding that well-placed habits and habits that are of a sort of meta level that handle a lot of things can be immensely valuable in shaping who you become and consequently what you do. And so the same habits that will drive your learning, your personal development, your growth, your efficacy as a leader, as a team member, as a follower, and all of us are all three at different points, not just in our career, but at different points in every day. These subtle changes really do build. And cultivating habits within your business, which are generally known as processes, can vastly change the complex web of interactions you have with your team, with your customers, with your financiers. And so paying careful attention to that is vital. And I won't go into specific habits because what I'm hoping you take away from this is the idea that habits are important, and find those habits that are most important for you. Find those things on the 20% of this, 80% of the side that are causing most of your headaches, and find ways around them. And everyone is different and unique, and that's why certain texts speak to everyone and yet differently. It's why different rules, different sets of rules manifest themselves differently when employed by different individuals. So while there are plenty of best practices, one of the most important things you can do is do a deep dive into who you are and make that a transformational experience by understanding what you like to do, what you don't like to do, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses lie, which of those require addressing and changing, and which one of those you're happy with. No one does everything great. Comparative advantage, the economic concept, really comes into play when it comes to building teams. And so it's not just about putting a bunch of smart people, productive people, driven people in a room. It's about finding the balance and the synergies that permit a team to do more than its individual parts. So finally, what I'd like to focus on is not so much a short-term step, but one particular habit that if you instill will really make a difference in your life. And it's what we call here like a pivot question. Am I happy with what I'm doing? It's seemingly mundane and simple, and the best pivot questions are, but understanding that every job, every endeavor has things that are less than tasteful, but largely understanding whether you're happy doing what you're doing is vitally important. And we all have big dreams. Everyone sitting in this online room has big dreams, visions of grandeur, and that's a really good thing. But those, and we see this a lot with our clients, those can co-opt your happiness because the vision is replaced with a to-do list, and that to-do list can take over your life and really distract you from some of the important things, whether it's family, friends, personal growth. And ideally, everyone's getting into creating a business, participating in business to drive their own happiness. And that's a really good thing. If it can combine with enhancing the happiness of others, with changing the world for the better, even more so. But there's also a financial aspect that people who start businesses are attracted to. There's a freedom aspect, there are many things, but I only talk about this one because many times that takes over. Possibly because it's so easy to measure. It's very easy to see dollars and cents. But don't let that drive what you're doing and why you're doing it. Ultimately, your happiness is the only thing you can take with you. Moreover, the older you get, the happiness or lack thereof of your younger self compounds because you have this larger bank of memory. And so when it comes to success, figure out what success is for you. And many times that's not going to be a number. It's going to be how you spend your time with whom you spend it. The sense of achievement that you derive from what you've done, who you've helped, the belonging you have within your organization. And there's this image I have in my head about a guy living by a river. And this guy's really anxious about having water. And so, some days it's easier, some days it's harder, but he can walk down to the river with his bucket, get a bucket of water, bring it up. But after a while, this guy's so crazy about water, so anxious about whether the river will stop flowing, that he goes down twice a day, then 3 times a day. And in his little hut, he's got buckets of water all over the floor, lining the walls. And at some point, he's got more water than he could possibly drink. And this is a really good metaphor for money. Get enough to make you feel secure, happy, but not so much that it becomes your preoccupation. Because if you're driven, if you are hardworking, if you have a passion for what you're doing, the river never dries up. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today, and I believe we go to some sort of Q&A right now.
Hey, Mike.
Hey.
Great to hear you. Thank you for the amazing presentation and sharing your life experience with us and giving us some tips and tricks on how to succeed in life.
Can you see the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, give me a hot second. I'm not seeing the chat, but maybe because I'm not maximized. Give me a moment.
If not, well, I can just ask you. There's a question from Weirda. She asks, how did you get your vision for your company?
Okay, so that's a really great question. I just found the chat, Fatma. Thank you. So Apex was not the first company I founded. If you're doing it right, if you're learning the right lessons, you're gonna have various amounts of success. That is, expect failure, revel in failure because you can learn from it, and also understand that many of the decisions are coin flips. They're not always 50-50, but a lot of decisions are impacted by things going on outside of yourself. And so sometimes, as in poker, you can make the right moves and still come up with the losing hand. But that said, normally a lack of success is due to something that you didn't see, a blind spot. Apex came about because I was doing something else that I was really passionate about, and I need some money on the side. So I was always a teacher. I was very natural in that role, and I was having a burrito with a friend of mine, and she tells me, she's brilliant, chemist from MIT. She says, well, you know, my passion is teaching fourth graders in the inner city. I teach fourth grade science during the day. I pay my mortgage helping professionals learn at night. And I said, wow, I didn't know that was a thing. That sounds great, because my passion doesn't really pay enough for me to feel secure. And so it started out like that. We specialize in a few tests, mostly for people going into graduate school, business school. So I sat the exam and I started interviewing with a bunch of large organizations that did this, speaking with them because I had no interest in starting a coaching business. It was really something I wanted to do, but it was transactional. So what I found was that it was very much like making sausages. There was no focus on the individual when it came to learning. And as I mentioned in the presentation, there are core principles that really apply to everyone, but exceptionally high performance, high cognitive performance comes from understanding very deeply oneself and how you think. So I saw this as a gap in the marketplace, and I wasn't really content just sort of going through the motions for people who had their lives on the line. At least it felt that way to them for getting into business school or growing their career. And so I thought it could be done better. More importantly, I wanted to do it better. And that was the genesis, was finding like-minded individuals. And everything else is really a function of that. So it's not so much a decision to found a business. It's not finding reasons that you wouldn't want to found this business. And I think that's what led Apex to grow and grow organically. And as an aside, we don't want to take over the test prep world. Our goal isn't scalability. It's not taking VC money. It's working with a select group of people that are passionate about what they do as teachers, and a similarly select group on our client base that are passionate about their careers, about changing the world, and helping mentor them across that river. And more importantly, instilling in them tools and also values that they can take with them outside of a particular exam, but into their graduate school program, into their career beyond, and into their personal lives as well, hopefully. So I hope I answered that question.
It's quite
Thank you so much.
thoroughly. Thank you, Mike. I cannot express my gratitude for taking the time and being a part of this. It means a lot to us. Like, we know you personally. Well, I know you digitally, but Fatma knows you personally, and I'm certain that you're a person that everyone can learn a lot from. And I hope our paths cross again soon. Just to have one more conversation of that sort. So
Thank you.
thank you for taking the time, and I wish you an amazing day.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. Loving the conference and looking forward to staying tuned a little bit longer.
Thank you so
That's
much.
great.
Thank you.
Be well, guys.
Bye. You as well. Thank you.